Hello, everyone. My name is Brandon Faulkner. I'm an intern for Village Core. For other events like this, be sure to check out villagecore.org or check out our YouTube channel in case you miss any of these meetings. Today, we'll be discussing online news organizations and what you can do with them. So, on different types of online news organizations that are currently surfacing around the web are things like Apple News, Google News, CNN, Fox News, Yahoo Mail, or not Yahoo Mail, Yahoo News. Um, there's ESPN, CBS, other things like that that typically give out the news or give out different segments of either local news, international news, or national news. So what we're looking at right now is we're looking at a culmination of all those combined. So through Google News, essentially what it does is it kind of brings an area for you to look at what's going on around the world with different news organizations. So here, as we can see here, there are my top briefings for Google News. So these are brief stories of the things that are happening that are most important currently. Like the Iowa caucus for the 2024 is live right now as Republicans get ready for the next presidential election. There's also the Houthi ballistic missile strikes on U.S.-owned Operation cargo ships and other things like that. And these are both from different news organizations. The top one is from CBS, and then this one right here about the Houthis is from CNN. But not only that, we can also see other coverage of other news organizations that are reporting on roughly the same thing that these news organizations are. So if we have live now from Fox, we can also see what's going on with with the Iowa caucus. We can also see the Wall Street Journal's reporting on this, and then we can see as well CNN is reporting on this. And for the Houthi ballistic missile strikes, we can see Fox News, once again, more Fox, and then Yahoo News is also reporting on this. Not only that, we can also look at different types of news. So we can look at international, national, and then local news as well. And then we can also look at medical, business, technology, entertainment, sports, sciences, and then health as well. So if we go here, we can see the For You news. So as you kind of create your account with Google News or whatever news service or whatever news service that you use, essentially what it will do is it'll create kind of like a briefing for you to read that are kind of basically recommended based on on your interests. Since I typically like my news more international rather than being national, I get a lot of international news. So I've been following what's happening in Yemen pretty closely, and so I'm beginning a lot of different stories about that. Um, I've also been watching a lot of, not watching, but reading a lot of sports news that is happening. So I'm getting a lot of that sports news that is coming through and all that sort of things. And then as well, we can also see the news organizations that I'm following. So this essentially is where you'll come and you'll say, okay, here's what I want to know, and here's the different sources that I want to be following. So let's take NBC here. If I were to click on this, it would take me directly to NBC's site where I could watch the news. Um, I could read all about it, figure out what's going on with it within the world, and then as well, there is a subscribe button somewhere, which I forgot where it was, where you can actually get that news right here, and It'll appear for whatever topic you are following and whatever topic you are interested in. We also have local news, so I'll have my local city as well as other cities that I can add in there that I want to follow and keep up to news on my local cities. And then we also have different types of sources. So the sources section essentially means things like Reuters, things like Al Jazeera, things like CNN, other things like that. We can follow it here and we can keep up to date with the live news coverage that they show. We also have the news showcase. So this is basically where I can come and I can look at all these different news organizations listed in one area. So this is basically showcasing the different types of up and coming news organizations that are being promoted by Google News. So this means like the Salt Lake Tribute, ARL Now, and things like that. which are up and coming news organizations that Google News wants to feature. And then also as well, you can follow them and you can stay up to date on the live news stories that are happening. Not only that, we can jump into local or not local, we can jump into national news. So depending on what country you live in, this will change where based off of your general location. Since Google knows that I'm a US citizen, it is now giving me a ton of news about different US things that are going on. So this could be things like the Iowa caucus. This could be things like Kamala Harris. This could be things like winter storms happening the on the East Coast and other things like that. So basically, this is where I can come to see everything that is happening that is big within the international news, and I can follow it very closely here. Not only that, I can also do that with world news. So I can see what's happening in Yemen. I could look at Iran's guards right now, and I can also look at other news that is being presented to me as it happens. So I can follow live updates. I can see recent stories that were posted like 4 hours ago, like this one was. Um, I can also see different news about different countries like Nicaragua, Ukraine. I can see things about Israel. I can read news like think billionaire sucks, get ready for trillionaires, and things like that. And then as well, we can switch over to local news. So, switching over to local news, essentially what it does is it kind of builds off of where you live. So the general location of where you live, this is where your local news will pop up. So say there's a massive parade that is coming to town and a bunch of streets are going to be shut down and you don't necessarily know that. Thanks to Google News and thanks to them culminating a bunch of local news together, we can now see live updates about that parade, and then as well we can see here are the roads that are going to be affected, here's where not to go, here's what to not to do, and then of course you can go and enjoy that parade if you do so choose, based off of the local news that is happening in your area. So we have a very big phenomenon that happens here, where we have the flower fields that blossom and they become extremely beautiful when the flowers start to bloom. So that is something that will happen soon, and so people are getting ready for that, and that is something um, that could be something that you're interested in and something that you could read that's very local. We also have business news. So if you're into stock markets, investing, if you're just looking at different types of companies that are happening around the world, you can look at different types of business news about different types of companies. Like here we have Boeing with their recent incident with their plane door blowing out. We can see Kroger, who is delaying a merge with Albertsons, which I didn't even know they were going to merge with Albertsons, but that is very big news. More CEOs fear that companies won't survive 10 years as AI and climate change get worse. That is something else that I might be interested in because that might tell me if I'm investing in the stock market, okay, companies are worried about AI, but also I could shift my money over into those AI. I could shift my money over into AI and investing into different companies that are building AI, because that means that when AI grows, my money can grow with it. And so that sort of thing. We can also see the Apple Watch ban that is happening and other things like that. And then also we can also follow the different stock markets that are happening. So the predominant ones like Dow Jones, the S&P 500, Nasdaq, and then Russell are all here ready to go for you to view. And as well, there is a disclaimer, and then you can also see more from Google Finance, which is basically your way to see the stock markets as they happen as well. We also have different technology news. So this will be focused around things like phones, AI, YouTube. This can be things about cybersecurity as well. These are basically just things that are happening in the technology world that you may want to keep up to date with, and other things like that. So um, this could be, let's say Tesla is dropping a new car. This means that that news will appear here and you can view that news and you can say, okay, maybe I want to get this car, or okay, let's see what new technological features that they're putting inside of the car. Or okay, this sounds completely stupid. Why would Tesla make another car since Elon Musk is having a not so great time in the press right now, and other things like that. Switching over to entertainment, we can see what happens at the red carpet. We can see what happens at the Emmys. We can look back on old kind of TV shows and other things like that. And this is where we can keep up to date on actors, actresses, different movies coming out, different scandals that are happening in Hollywood, and other things like that. So this is where you'll go to get all your types of celebrity news. And then there are also sub filters. So there'll be sub filters for every single type of news that we have here that I just went through. And we can go through latest movies, music, TV, books, art design, and then celebrities as well. Moving on to sports, we have a rundown of what's happening with sports fans. So recently fans decided to clear out um, an entire football field worth of snow so that their teams could play. So right now we could see that. Right now we could see what's happening in the NFL. We could see what's happening with soccer, other things like that. We can see what's happening, things like Travis Kelce. We can see the different types of media frenzy that is going on with Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce as well, because that is a very big thing that football fans are upset about. We can see things like baseball when it's the season, and then we can just kind of keep track of everything that is happening. We can listen to podcasts and other things like that with ongoing sports. Moving into the science section essentially is telling us about the different feats that scientists have created. Like the lunar lander will burn up in Earth's atmosphere after failed moonshot. So essentially, we just recently tried to land a rover on the moon because we want to go back to the moon, but we just failed at that. So right now, NASA is trying to figure out how we're going to get that down and how we're going to kind of research it in order to make sure that further issues like this don't happen in the future. But the thing about that is they miscalculated, and now that lander will burn up on re-entry, meaning that those parts won't be salvageable um, in order to figure out what happened. And then as well, we can also see the four new astronauts who are going into SpaceX's mission. We can see that we can see different like claims, like Elon Musk is claiming that venting liquid oxygen caused Starship explosion. We can also see that we potentially found the missing link of Earth, and other things like that. So this could be like things like going back in the past, seeing what's out there in the universe and other things like that, as well as different technological feats, like how some MIT students recently created a hands to speech type of deal with sign language. So essentially, what they did is they created whenever you sign something in sign language, the gloves that you wear will actually speak that out to the person who you are talking to using sign language, and they can hear it. So somebody who's hard of hearing and somebody who can hear just fine talk to each other, they can now communicate just fine to each other um, without any issues. We also have the health section. So the health section essentially reports on the different types of viruses, the different types of outbreaks, and things like that. So during the 2020 pandemic, this was just filled of COVID. This was filled of people reporting on COVID and other things like that. And then also we can see new drugs being introduced. We can see chest pain drugs. We can see the different viruses that are coming out. We can also see the hypothetical threat of disease X that is going around right now, and other things like that. So this is basically where you'd come just to see the science news that is going on and the different issues surrounding that. And then as well on top of here, we have a search bar. So if you don't necessarily know what you're into with reading, or if you do know what you're into and what you're looking for, we can now look here and actually see whether or not a story is there. So if I were to look up, let's say I were to look up, let's go for let's just say I want to look at Iran. I want to see what's happening in Iran. So I can look at all these different types of news organizations that are reporting on things that are currently happening in Iran and other things like that. So basically, Google News is just that big section where we come to look at all these different news sources, everything like that. And this is basically where it just all comes together. Not only that, we have different news organizations that we can also look at online. So your big news organizations like CNN, ESPN, or not ESPN, CNN, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, the Washington Post, the LA Times, um, other news organizations like that. That's where we can come and see their news by simply just looking up their website. So like CNN.com. We can also look at NBCnews.com and other things like that, where we can actually get the news directly from the source rather than actually going around and trying to find it on Google News. And then as well, there is the equivalent to Google News, which is Yahoo News. And just like Yahoo News, there is also an equivalent, which is Apple News. So Apple News does the same thing that Google News and Yahoo News does, where it basically just gives you a rundown. You can see your local stories, what is happening, international news, national news, and then local news as well. And just like the other ones, we can see TV, we can see news, life, entertainment, finance, sports, and then the different types of editions. So this could be like crypto, this could be celebrities, this could be food, travel, tech, world, US politics, politics overseas, other things like that are all in one big area on Yahoo News where you can go through and you can read about it, and then you can stay up to date with your current events. So these are really just easy ways to kind of access news. And then on top of that, if you're not necessarily somebody who likes listening to the news, there are also podcast features that you can access in order to listen to it rather than having to read it. So that's a really cool function that you can do with these different news organizations because not a lot of people really read the news anymore. A lot of people just either watch it or listen to it. So if you are taking a car ride to work, you can stay up to date on your local current events with podcasts like the Wall Street Journal, how they have a podcast that keeps you up on the local on the not local on the big headlines that are happening around the world, and then they give you a brief explanation about what's happening. So other than that, I have nothing really else to offer for these news organizations. Other than that, once again, my name is Brandon Faulkner. I'm an intern for VillageCore. For other events like this, be sure to check out villagecore.org or check out our YouTube channel in case you miss any of these meetings. Thank you so much for watching.